It seems there's a lot of people that like to flip their masterpiece transformers back and forth a lot. There's a lot of reasons I hear about this. Some people say that they really like the challenge. Some say that they find it therapeutic. Some say they just want to do it as a pastime. For me, I view it more of like mowing the lawn. It's a necessary evil. Today, I am going to talk about the dark side of transforming masterpiece transformers, and we're going to discuss this coming up. First off, we're going to talk about the wear and tear that you put on a figure when you transform it or flip it back and forth. There's a lot of wear and tear every time you move any one of those parts. You are actually putting some wear and tear on that figure. So I bought a lot of figures used or secondhand, and I can tell immediately if this figure's been transformed and used a lot, or if it was one of those that was pulled out of the box and just put on the shelf. It is very obvious and evident in how the figure works if it's been flipped back and forth and transformed from the wear and tear. So one of the issues that you see from the wear and tear, we lead into the next issue of paint issues or paint wear, paint rub, paint shipping. It is an issue, it is a problem, and you see it not only in third party, but you see it with Takara, you see it everywhere if these figures have been handled excessively. Most recently, MP44 has seen a lot of paint shipping, especially in the yellow area of the pelvis. But it's a great example to show this figure is an ultra complex transformation. There's a lot going on with it, and a lot that kind of scares you when you transform it when it comes to paint rub. This concerns me a lot with Fans Toys figures. Now, Fans Toys figures have an ultra complex transformation. They're painted very well, and so I'm always concerned about chipping the paint on these figures. Maybe it's just my extreme care and carefulness, but I don't really have a huge problem with paint chipping on my Fans Toys figures, but a lot of people do on their Hot Rod. Since I brought up Hot Rod and Fans Toys and the paint chipping, I want to get into the next topic, and it does include Fans Toys also. This is the Fans Toys tolerance. Some people call it the Fans Toys squeak. Whatever you want to call it, they have an extremely tight tolerance, which helps fix my next problem, which is loose figures. Loosey-goosey figures once you've transformed them. A lot of people complain that the tolerance is too tight with Fans Toys. In some cases, moving apart the way it's supposed to move feels like you're going to break the figure. But at the end, once you've transformed it 2 or 3 times, it's still a pretty solid figure. As opposed to many of the other third-party companies, or even Takara, they become very loose-goose kind of figures, and they're floppy mess. I don't want a figure that's a floppy mess, which is kind of part of why I don't want to flip them back and forth, and I think Fans Toys figures can handle that to a point. Now, no figure was actually designed in the masterpiece realm to be flipped back and forth every single day. They're made to handle a couple, 2 or 3 or 4 transformations, but they're not like mainline figures. Mainline figures have 10, 12, 15 steps. These have up to 30 to 50 steps and 100 part count. And with that, these are ultra complex. These are adult collectible transformers. They should not be flipped back and forth every single day or weekly like a mainline figure. They weren't designed for that. And with that, you're going to have a lot of problems. My next point is by far the most important point in all of this, and that's breakage. With the complex transformations, with all of the things going on in the masterpiece, a breakage on your masterpiece figure is an issue. The price, the availability to replace either the part or the figure, the service after the sale with Takara, which is completely 100% non-existent. This is an issue that we have to address. This scares many collectors. I believe 70% of collectors do not transfer their Transformers because of these issues. The breakage and the inability to replace the figure. Now, I haven't really had an issue with anything breaking on most companies aside from Takara and Fans Toys. Fans Toys, on the other hand, has a huge service after the sale ability. They actually offer parts shipped from their factory, and they take care of you if you break your figure. Now, it has to be a relatively modern figure. They have to have access to parts. They have completely stopped all service after the sale for some of the earlier figures, such as Tesla and Lupus and the Spotter. They've actually said they will not replace those, but more modern figures they have parts for. Takara puts it on their distributors, and they absolutely do not seem to care at all if you break your figure and you need it replaced, a part or whatever. I have absolutely no way to contact them, no way to get this part, but it's real easy to get it from Fans Toys. So I'm confused. I don't understand, and it scares me to spend ridiculous amounts of money on Takara product if I can't get it fixed. Lucky for me, my MP44 has not broken yet. Knock on some wood there, but I know a lot of people have had this issue, and I'm gonna say I feel for everyone who has this issue. Here's why I feel for it. When I break a figure, and that's about 3 figures I have broken out of 100, but those 3, I absolutely don't want them anymore. It's ridiculous, it's irrational, and when you break a figure, you're not thinking rationally. But when I break them, I absolutely hate the figure, and I don't want it anymore. I want to get rid of it. And I might even get that same figure again, but just not broken. And it's strange, it's a way I feel, and I can't change it, but I'm curious how you feel. Moving into my next point, which is kind of a fun point here, is a lot of collectors miss out on the alt modes. So my informal poll was that a lot of collectors don't transform their figures. In fact, I asked in a couple of videos, and I did the percentage of it, and it seemed to be 70% of my viewers do not transform their Masterpiece Transformers. Now, I think that's probably pretty accurate, and there's a lot of reasons why, all the reasons I've just stated. And for that, they're missing out. They're missing out on these amazing alt modes and actually getting to see them in person and handle them and utilize them. And for that, all of these problems are keeping 70% of collectors from enjoying this. If you're like me, or kind of like I used to be, then you're only enjoying half of your figure, and you're only enjoying half of your purchase. And that is very unique to Transformers. I can't say that Marvel Legends or Star Wars Black Series collectors or Hot Toys collectors have the same situation. No, it's very unique to Transformers in the fact that you get 2 modes. You get 2 figures in one. It was unique in the 80s for GoBots and Transformers. It's unique now for Masterpiece collectors. It's still unique on the toy aisle for the Earthrise and all of that. There are still figures that I have in my collection, and I would say it's very, very far above half. I would say 60% of my collection has never been transformed. In fact, I do that because I like my figures stiff and tight and able to stand well or pose well. I like an untransformed figure versus a transformed figure. And in fact, I think most people feel the same way. I think the value is higher on a figure that's never been transformed. But there's a new theory floating around that I really want to discuss. Some collectors have this opinion that if a figure has been transformed a few times and it has not broken, it has not had any of the issues, no paint chipping, none of the problems that I previously spoke of, then that figure is a solid figure. Now, there's of course, an issue with production on some figures. There are some figures that are lemons and some figures that are better than others. There is that whole mileage will vary factor in it. And so those collectors would rather have a figure that's used and has been flipped back and forth a couple of times. And for that, I understand that thought process, but I still don't adopt it. At the end of the day, I still don't want to buy a used figure from somebody that is a floppy mess. That is their used leftovers that has been flipped back and forth many, many times. I still believe there is more value in a sealed in the package figure than a figure that is loose and loosey-goosey. So I'm going to tell you guys, I recently broke my Dune Rider from Fans Toys. It really devastated me, and it kind of saddened me about even transforming another Transformer for a minute, because it was a superlative part, and one of the wheels fell off. I thought it was silly, like a wheel fell off. Fans Toys quickly says, hey, I got your part coming, no big deal. So, I mean, I kind of feel better about that, but right now, it's very upsetting to me. It ruined my day, and I really didn't think I mishandled it at all, and I was very upset. So I'm kind of curious how you feel when this happens. And it makes me not ever want to transform it again. It's just stupid. It's ridiculous. Maybe I'm just stubborn, but I'm upset about this. I'm really, really upset about this. And I didn't even mishandle it. I didn't do anything wrong. But yet it just broke. And I haven't had that happen to the Fans Toys figure other than a shelf dive. And so that made sense. This did not make sense to me. So I want to hear what you think about these dark sides of transformations for Masterpiece Transformers. Do you flip yours back and forth on a regular basis? I know I've made videos talking about transformations, but lately I've been really, really sour on it due to that whole Dune Rider thing. And I've been kind of apprehensive about the new figures because they're getting so hard to replace if you break them. I don't even know if I can repair my Dune Rider. Let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe. Titanium Hanger out.